Can you tell us who you are and when and where you were born?
Yeah, my name is Max Sprowl. I was born on the Rural Route number 4, Acton, Squeezing Township, November the 5th, 1927.
Okay. And what counter were you a junior farmer member of?
I was a member of the Acton Junior Farmers in Halton County.
Okay. And what years were you a junior farmer?
I was a junior farmer from 1947 to 1960.
Okay. How did you first get involved in junior farmers?
I first got involved in junior farmers from attending a boys and girls club work, which was I was in an Ajax club, a grain club, and I heard about junior farmers, so when I graduated from high school I joined the Acton Junior Farmers in 1947. That's how I became involved.
Okay. So there's no one that came out and recruited you?
No.
Okay. And how long were you involved in junior farmers before you became involved provincially?
Well, I was involved in junior farmers from 47 to 53 before I became provincial director.
Okay. And in Halton, in the Acton clubs, what kind of things were the activities and did the members do?
In the Acton club, we used to get we'd have the meeting in the Acton club. There was the boys met. They had one meeting and the girls had another meeting, and the girls would have a speaker, and probably someone from the Women's Institute would speak to them, and the boys, we'd have someone from maybe a feed company speak to us, and then at the end of the meeting they come together and we have lunch. That's how it went, and that's how their meetings were.
Were there social events or community projects?
When we social events, we had dances. Periodically a dance would be set up, and we'd have a dance in our area, and the other clubs like Milton Junior Farmers and Norva Junior Farmers, and they would have dances in their areas as well too. Like they'd have different dances, and then they had these counties at that time had these what they called an at-home, a very large formal dance where girls wore evening gowns and corsages, and like I can think of like ours at Halton, we had it at the Brand Inn in Burlington, an old ship that had been hauled up from the water, and they had this is called a junior farmer at home, and then I once was at a junior farmer dance at Castle Oman, Toronto, which is a famous building there, and then I once was at an at-home over at the Rural Youth Center in Cayuga, and once I remember going to another junior farmer at home at Bond Head, which is up towards Barrie. There was a lot of these things. These things, like we had a bit of expense to it because the girl always we had to take a corsage for the girl and pay a couple dollars for this corsage, and she'd get the corsage on her evening dress, like. Yeah.
Was there a lot of involvement with the community?
Well, these dances were just were just junior farmers usually from that district, and then junior farmers that were invited in from other counties would be that, and there'd be big numbers at these dances. They'd have sometimes 300-400 people. Like I was at one in the Castle Oman, was over 500 people there. Oh yeah, They were big events. Yeah. From junior farmers from far and wide.
You were telling me that you were involved in several different positions when you were your time in Halton and Acton.
Yeah. I was president of Acton Fair in 1953, and at that time was the youngest president in their history. And I've been a member of the Rotary Club of Acton for many years. I was president twice in the Rotary Club, and I received a Paul Harris Fellowship Award, which is the highest award in Rotary. And I was a president of the Halton Federation of Agriculture, and I sat on the Board of Governors of the Ontario Federation of Agriculture for 3 years.
I was actually meeting the clubs. But with the Acton Club, you were involved.
In the Acton Club, in Junior Farmers, I served as secretary and as president. And in the Halton Junior Farmers, I served as president. And then I was served a provincial director for about 4 years on the provincial board.
Which years were those?
Pardon?
Which years were those?
Well, those were 1953, and then I was off the year that I was on the Nuffield Scholarship to Britain studying agriculture for 6 months, and then when I came back, I was on then for 55, 1956, 57.
Okay. Who was president those years? Do you remember who was president?
The president of those years was, there was David Pelletiero, and there was Dave, there was Myrtle McCutcheon, Dave Barry, and Carl Boynton. Let me see. Yeah, those were presidents that was on during the years I was on the provincial board.
Who was the secretary-treasurer at that time?
Secretary-treasurer was T.R. Hilliard. He was the secretary-treasurer.
And what kind of person was T.R. Hilliard?
T.R. Hilliard was quite a great person. He was kind of strict in one way. I remember being at the provincial camp in 1950, and we all had the provincial camp, junior farmer camp at Lake Hoochie we were all divided into Indian tribes like Iroquois, Ojibways, and the different events through the day. T.R. Hilliard always said, "Now make sure you're to your cabin at a certain hour, and I don't have to run around and find you guys out in the bush someplace you've got to be into your cabin to bed." But he was a great fellow. And later went on to he was the Deputy Minister of Agriculture and Food. Yeah.
And what were his main contributions to junior farmers?
His main contribution to junior farmers?
What did he bring that helped make junior farmers evolve?
Well, he brought during his years, he used to have representatives go out where they felt there was a junior farmer club should be set up, and he organized that for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and a lot of junior clubs were formed during his time as secretary treasurer. He was, I would say, excellent. Yeah.
All right. Asking a little bit about the presidents you served under. You mentioned Myrtle McCutcheon.
Yeah, Myrtle McCutcheon. Yeah.
How was she as a president?
She's a very good president, Myrtle. Yeah. She was a school teacher, and she was a very good president. she conducted very good meetings, and she was very good.
And Carl Boynton, how was he as a president?
Carl Boynton, he was a good president. He was I once went over to New York when I saw him take part in a curling bonspiel. He was quite a curler. But in his youth, he used to curl, and he was a good president, Carl Boynton. And then Dave Pelletier, who was from Halton, he was when he started. When I first got to know him, he was a dairy herd supervisor testing milk at farms in the morning and night. They'd go in the morning, test milk, and then the evening, go back in the evening, test milk. And he was what they called DHIA, Dairy Herd Improvement Association. There was those that went and tested milk, and then you had the other ROP inspectors, which they also tested milk with record of performance, ROP, record of performance, yeah. But Dave was that, and then Dave then went to Guelph after high school, and he graduated with a degree in agriculture. And then he worked for in his work he then went to the cooperators and rose up to quite a good position in that.
He was fairly young as provincial president,
was young. Yeah, he was only about 21 when he was elected president. Very young.
And he was able to handle that
Oh
responsibility
yes,
very well?
yes, and he was very good. He was a good singer. He used to. He was in the junior farmer choir, the Hall Junior Farmer Choir. He could really sing. And he later on, in his retirement, I believe, was a director of choirs in his church. Yeah.
And the last president you served under, I believe, was Dave Barry?
Dave Barry, yes,
And what was he like?
Dave was very good. He was from Waterloo County, and he had taken the 2-year associate course at the OAC, and he had a very good knowledge about things because of the fact that he would have been 2 years in Guelph at the university, taking the 2-year associate course, and he had a lot of really great knowledge about things like Dave Barry. He was extremely good too. Yeah.
What was the most significant or interesting thing that happened to junior farmers during your years on the provincial board?
Well, I would say that we brought in the introduction of the field days during that time, and I was chairman of the Guelph Field Day in 1956. That was one thing that was brought in, and that was increased into more competitions from softball to rifle shooting and all that as the years went on. They ran that for quite a few years, these field days. That was something that was something that took place during my time.
And what was a field day?
Pardon?
What was a field day?
A field day was used to be held. The Guelph one was held right at the Guelph University, and they had was set up the areas they had where they had the softball teams would be playing in competition, and where the rifle team would be in competition, and they had horseshoe pitching, and and then at the end of the day, then there was the awards presented to the winning softball team, both in boys and girls, the rifle team, and horseshoe pitching team, and at night then a big dance. That was it.
Oh, that's cool. What challenges were there in junior farmers?
Well, the challenges would be if you're in a livestock judging competition one year, like you always try to do better the next year in the competition and win some of the silverware, some of the cups. Like I one year in 1949, I won the Thomas Blakelock Trophy. It was for the best judge of swine in Halton County. Quite a big high trophy, that high. And I think that's what it really was. You're in one year, and the next year you go in to try and do better. Yeah.
So you did a lot of judging as a Halton member?
10 years,
10
every
years.
year.
Okay.
Never missed a year.
Now you were saying that this was part of a bigger provincial competition that you led up to with the Royal?
Yeah, the provincial competition of the Royal, and then the CNE. They were provincial competitions, yeah. And
what did you have to do in order to gain entry to these competitions in Toronto?
Well, actually, the letter would come out from the agriculture representative's office that the date of the CNE competitions, they'd have the date, and you just simply got on the train. I got on the train in Acton, went to Toronto, and registered, was down there all day judging. Now in the Royal Winter Fair it was a bit different. Like what happened in it, the agriculture representative would select the team he felt would do better than some of the others. Some were better judges than others, like, and so he'd get this team, select what he felt was maybe 3 of the best in judging, and then for 2 weeks drive around the country and for all the practice judging, and then you'd be in the competition. It was in November, and it was so it was a little bit different than the CNE. The CNE was just kind of open; anybody could go regardless. Go by bus or go by train to Toronto and take part in it. But the livestock judging competition at the Royal Winter Fair and was quite different. The ones that were selected were sort of better ones. Then in the junior farmers, we used to have the competitions, like debating competitions, and so there'd be a county would put in a team, and they'd have two on the affirmative side and 2 on the negative side. Both sides of the issue had to be argued. Like the year he won in '56, I was the leader of the affirmative, and the leader of the affirmative came back, and they had the last. They had the last speech of the roundup. You see, they'd start off with each speaker would have so long. That's the affirmative team there. I was leader of the affirmative team. This George Green was on my team. The negative team was Lloyd Vivian, Roy Ford. And so anyway, and we'd in the march to the championship, we defeated 4 counties on that one. And then this one here, like, was in '51, the trip to the championship trip to the United States. This was judged. I was judged on having the combined points of both the livestock judging competition, the seed fair judging competition, at the highest number of points. This one here, there's 20 teams, square dance teams that I coached that went to the Royal. On that one.
Could anyone go square dance at the Royal?
Pardon?
Could anyone go square dance at the Royal?
No, the team, they sent the letter out, there would be a square dancing competition, row and a fair, and it gave you, you had to fill out a form, send it in, and you'd be entering a team. And then once you got the team entered, then you had to select who's going to be on the team. And they had to do a lot of practicing too, because they were in competition. So they had to have well, they'd be practicing for about 2 to 3 weeks ahead, and they usually practice in a one-room school house. That's where they take the practice. And you'd have to have the caller there who called the square dance, and then somebody to play the piano and the violin. You know.
Your other experiences as a junior farmer, what would you say would be your wildest experience?
Wildest experience?
One that just,
Uh,
you know, one that, you know, funny to tell and...
Well, I would say that getting to a junior farmer meeting, the most difficult one, I was asked as a guest speaker to speak to the Milton junior farmers in 1951, and a tornado went through Hornby. The trees were blown down and everything. I had trouble getting the car through this and to the place where I had to speak. The house was damaged in the tornado, and there was people that came to hear me. That was an experience that a bit different.
What changes to junior farmers? You talked before about the field day. What other changes to junior farmers were there provincially while you were on the board?
Well, pretty much the years I was on the board, they pretty much ran the annual conference at the OAC and the Toronto conference in Toronto in January. The Toronto conference in January was where they had the public speaking competitions in Toronto. And they had, and I was asked by Carm Hamilton twice to go down and be a judge of the public speaking competitions. But it was different than the annual Junior Farmer Conference, where they had speakers and from different groups, things like that, quite different. And then you see there were also during my time a lot of and drama competitions, plays and the different counties had these drama competitions where there'd be a play, and then there'd be 4 or 5 clubs take part in it, and when the play would be over, there'd be a judge which they figured was the best play. They judged the best actor and the best actress in the play, and there'd be presentations made at the end of it, and quite often, strangely in a lot of those, quite often there was the best actress and the best actor weren't from the winning play. It seems strange, but they quite often they were not from the winning play. Both the one who was judged the best actor, the one who was judged the best actress. Yeah, there was a lot of great drama competitions went on.
You've talked about several provincial events so far. One you touched on a little bit previously was Leadership Camp. Now,
Yeah,
you had the opportunity to represent Halton, correct?
Yeah, at the Leadership Camp at Lake Kuchising 1950, there was a girl, and her name was May Wingrove, and she and I went as the leadership to this leadership camp. She was in a different tribe than I was, in Ojibwe, and she was an Iroquois. And that camp was great fun, like, because there was always a table. You sat down and get your elbows off the table. This is not a horse's table. Stand up, sit down. And there was a great lot of kibitzing went on at the camp. Like, and then they had each evening, like, they had what they called Vesper services, and we went out to the end of the camp, and it just would be at sundown when the sun was going down. There was like an evening service, like every night, called a Vesper service. And a lot of the ones who went to provincial camp later became quite prominent junior farmers. They became provincial directors, and there were a lot of the presidents came from. Myrtle McCutcheon was the same year, 1950, as I was at camp.
Now, what activities did the delegates participate in that camp?
Well, in that camp they had things for the girls, like Miss Edie was there, and like they had things like for the girls for baking, to be better bakers, like, and prepare like food and things like that. The boys, like, ours was like there'd be somebody come in and speak to us about farming. Well, there's a couple of speakers came in and spoke about farming, and we had sessions of that. And we also had an evening too that I took part in a shock wedding. I was a groom in a shock wedding, and we had to kind of get dressed up in crazy clothes, and it was just an awful lot of fun. That 1 week we went from Toronto by bus up to Lake Couchesing at Geneva Park, and of course that place has had many great things over the years at Geneva Park at Lake Couchesing.
What time of the year was this 1 week?
September. Yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned just a few moments ago that those people who went to leadership camp became prominent in their clubs.
Yeah.
What changed them at leadership camp to become that better leader?
Well, some of them, like in the case of Myrtle McCutcheon, who had to get leave because the first week of school was going. She had to have leave to go to that thing because they, and there was some of them, had with jobs and things like that, had to get leave to go, because even though they're quite young, a lot of them had jobs, like.
What at leadership camp made them better leaders? Like, how did they?
Well, the leadership camp, like most of those in the leadership camps, became later on. I read over the years, like they became like prominent in some of the farm organizations, like the Federation of Agriculture. They became executive members of the Federation of Agriculture. They became maybe hog producers, and some of them some of them became well, I know of one person who got an order of Ontario, and some of them went in industry, like did well, went had executive positions in industry. Aside, they were out of farming, but they were still in industry. So all this training at these leadership camps was beneficial, because later on the people went on and became leaders in other things.
What was the specific training and the programming of leadership at leadership camp?
The training, well, first of all, they had sessions at the leadership camp where you had to do speaking. You'd be called upon to do speaking, and so you were able to it gave you an opportunity to feel free to get up on your feet and speak, and that was one of the things they had about to be and of course a lot of those at leadership camp went on later were on debating teams in various junior farmer clubs across Ontario. They were on debating teams because they're pretty good speakers, and so that was really something that every day there was, and then even at that meal time there was this crazy stuff that went on, and about, as I mentioned earlier, about get your elbows off the table. This is not a horse's table. Stand up, sit down. That type of stuff went on.
And I understand there was a lot of traditions at leadership camp, including the tribes.
The tribes, yeah.
What was the purpose of putting everyone in the tribes?
Well, I don't know. They had the tribes set up. There was Iroquois, Ojibwe, Algonquin, and when you arrived, when they handed out, they had the names of the people that would be on the Ojibwe tribe, the name of the people that would be on the Algonquin tribe, the name of the people on the Iroquois tribe. That was decided by really T.R. Hilliard, in that he was the one that was running the camp. So these Indian names they had, they were just selected by. When I went, I didn't know what. I knew that there would be Indian tribes, but I had no idea what tribe I'd be when I got there to was handed to which tribe I was in. Yeah.
Were there other provincial activities and competitions we haven't talked about yet that you'd like to talk about?
Not really. I can't think of anything more than what I've discussed, pretty well. That was pretty well it when the years from 47 to 60 for 13 years I was in, that was pretty well it during my time.
How much did membership cost to join?
I can't even remember what it cost. I can't vaguely even remember. There was when you signed up, I think. I can't really remember. I know the admission to the dances and stuff used to be about 50 cents for admission to a dance, and but I can't really remember what I paid in membership to the Acton Junior Farmers or to the Holland Junior Farmers. I can't really remember how much it was now. That's a long time ago.
How many members were there roughly in the province of Ontario at that time?
Well, at that time there was about 8,500. Once it was close to 9,000 members in the clubs. And a lot of these counties had across Ontario had 4 and 5 clubs in every county.
So every county had a club.
Yeah, had a club, yeah. Some were, Halton had, we had, when the Brookville Junior Farmers was formed in 1960, we went up to 6 clubs. And we had close to the 300 members.
What were the other clubs called?
Well, we had Acton Junior Farmers, and there was Norwell Junior Farmers too, Milton Junior Farmers, Palermo Junior Farmers, Brookville Junior Farmers. That's 5. Let me see, Brookville, Acton, Norwell, Milton, Palermo, and Brookville. Sorry, five clubs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are five clubs, and then the Brookville Junior Farmers. Then they later, their membership was dropping, and then they decided they would join the Acton Club. So they joined the Acton Club. So Brookville and Acton became one club. This thing here, there was the last. Let's see here. Or somewhere on here. Here's when the clubs closed. It's on this big sheet which you'll be getting here. 1972, the Palermo Club closed. 1975, the Norville Club closed. 1978, Acton Club closed. And then when they closed, what was left became the Halton Junior Farmers 1 Club. This is on here. 72, the Palermo Club closed. 75, Norville Club closed. 78, Acton Club closed to become only the Halton Junior Farmers. And that was the. So that's over 30 years ago. Those clubs closed.
Now, after you finished as a member, you got asked to join with a bunch of other past members on an alumni association, correct?
Yeah, right.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, we used to have a meeting about once a month. Carm Hamilton was the, he was attended those meetings, I attended those meetings, and we had Darrell Ball from, do you know him? From up in Huron County. He was sort of the unofficial president. And we had, we met at the center in Guelph at, it's like the Catholic center there. And we discussed about various things about the junior farmers. And that was, it was about 10 years I went to those meetings, and it was, I found it very distressing because what every so often we'd hear of another 5, 7 clubs had closed and things like that. It was just, it almost made you feel negative that things were going down. And it was, farmers were selling their farms, and a lot of farm people were going out of agriculture, and that's it. And another thing too that was taking place, see, in my time there weren't very many junior farmers went to university. There weren't very many even went to high school. I went to high school. I had grade 9, 10, 11, and 12. And I took a night course from McMaster University 7. But that was very rare. You didn't have many. There's many just, once they finished grade 8, they went back to the farm to help their dad farm. So at that time, there was not very many went on to university. And so that, it seems to me that we often discuss this at meeting, that why these people were having trouble, junior farmers. Well, a lot of them were going on to university, hadn't time to be, and things like that. So that period of time, a lot more kids, when they finished high school, were going to university. My time, that wasn't the case. My time, there's a lot had never. And there was the odd one was, I would say, with the exception, like Dave Barry took a 2-year diploma course, which isn't a degree course in agriculture. He had 2 years. Murray Gaunt, a friend of mine who was a member in the Ontario Legislature 18 years, like he took a 2-year diploma course, but not a university, just a 2-year, like. But really, the junior farmers, it seems to me, as more of them went on to university, membership started to go down. That was often discussed at our meetings. Membership was dropping.
Were there other activities with this group?
The alumni that well, when we met, we usually were discussing about, well, for example, we had several meetings we tried to set up to try and set up something where we would send, to try and attract new junior farmers, like letters to go out. But the problem was that there wasn't going to be money to do a lot of this stuff, to prepare all these letters and the sending out of letters to. At that time, we're just talking about 2,000 members that time, because it had gone from about 8,000 down to 2,000. But there was, and at that time, you see, there was we're just up against it because we had no agricultural office anymore, and so you had to do. So it became from to what it is now. There's just no money. There's no nothing, so it became. So a lot of the things we thought would be a good idea, we weren't able to carry them out because we had no money for even the production of letter and for a great big mailing out. So it just didn't take place.
So what things did you focus on?
Well, we were mainly, this is mainly what we talked about, why this group, when I got the letter about, to join this group about an alumni association to discuss about the future of the junior farmers, how it had. And so the first few meetings were, I would say for 3 or 4 years, all was we were discussing the past, pretty much what activities were carried on. And we realized that that wasn't going to be, wasn't continuing. And so we were trying to think of what can we replace that with to make it attractive for someone to want to become a junior farmer, so anyway, that group is now disbanded, and Carm Hamilton, I sent him some stuff in, that he has of stuff. I have some of the records of the judging competition stuff. He already has stuff from me, and but anyway, I found that 10 years very difficult. It was almost negative. It was, whereas the enthusiasm of the 13 years I was a junior farmer, with all the dances and judging competitions, drama, debating, And then all this was all quite exciting. It was interesting. But I found that last not. It was almost, I felt negative about it. So now you see there's about 500 members now. And they'll be in different counties. Yeah. Yeah.
Going back to your time as a member, how did junior farmers change you as a person?
Well, I suppose it changed me from when I was in school. I was very, very quiet. It probably changed me to be more of an outgoing person, and to junior farmers, I think, changed me to be more of an outgoing person. Well, for example, I served on a squeezing school board for 5 years, and I found that experienced junior farmers helped me. We had meetings when we'd be discussing. During the 6 years I was on school board, we built 3 central schools and closed 24 one-room schools, and at school board meetings dealing with the hiring of teachers, the closing 4 schools and building a 5-room central school in the area in between, listening to architects make the presentation, deciding on who the contractor would be, and all that. That I felt in junior farmer training did help me, and in that, because what we were dealing with, we were dealing with sometimes some very complex. And when I retired, a neighbor wanted me to run for council. I said, there's no way I'm going to run for council. I sat 6 years on a township school area board, and we built 3 central schools, closed 24 one-room schools. Very unpopular decision, and I said, we took quite a lot of heat during it, and I will not run for council. So I said, no way, that's it. Yeah.
Okay. What else have you done with yourself since you left Junior Farmers?
Well, since I left Junior Farmers, like what I of course, have stayed on over 50 years in the Rotary Club, carried on in Rotary, and I've also sat on a tax reform commission on property taxes, which I was sat on it for a year with 10 people, and we studied taxes worldwide in all these other countries, like during that time, you see, the business of the property tax had come into thing, and like the Ontario government set up like what they call now have an impact, and that the 4 million properties in Ontario now is all done. You don't have the assessor now going through your house and inspecting things like that. It's all now done by. And we sat on this thing for a year and found all kinds of problems with the thing of assessments were not done correctly, improperly. It was known that the impact would hire 2 students to drive a car down the street and look at a property. Oh, there's a house on a property with a 3-bedroom house with a 50-foot lot, and that house should be assessed at so much, like that. The problem is when they went from the days of the assessor in there, they no longer, because inside the buildings is different quality of cupboards, different qualities of even doorknobs, and different qualities of things. So we sat on that, I sat on that for a year and banged away at about assessment. See, today your assessment is about, if you have a house valued at 300,000, the municipality you're in will work out your tax bill will be 1%. A 300,000 assessment now is, your taxes would be 3,000 a year on that house. If it's 400,000, be 4,000. That's the way the thing is. The way the thing is worked now. But what they're doing now 4 to 5 million properties throughout Ontario, and some of it's pretty bad yet. They're not. They're way off, like on a lot of the things, and it's. I know the old system, even some local assessor wouldn't be properly trained to really do an assessment, even if he got inside the house. He would not know the value of what those cupboards would be, or what the value of that carpet would be, what the value of this and that would be. So I had a 10-year period of experience of that.
What else did you get involved in after Junior Farmers?
Well, there were ones after Junior Farmers. It's just really the Rotary Club, and and that I'm speaking of. And I ran to be a candidate for the Conservatives after Junior Farmers. And like then and after Junior Farmers was 6 years on the Squeezing School Board, which was I wrote 10 books in retirement. The last book that I read was Farm Boy to Sheriff. That's my autobiography, 357 pages. Here's the picture showing you there. The 357 pages of that. I wrote that book. I've written 10 books. So I got a lot of experience. I've been in a lot of libraries doing a lot of research.
You were part of the Halton Federation of Agriculture as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were
president of the Halton Federation of Agriculture, and then I was on the Board of Governors of the Ontario Federation of Agriculture. Yeah.
And currently, what are you doing with yourself?
Right now, I'm just really, I still go to Rotary once a week, and I'm going to start curling again. I was sick last year I lost 40 pounds of cancer, almost did me in, but I'm back to my normal weight and feeling fairly good, so I'm going to try back curling. Curling and Rotary will be what I'll be doing.
Were there any other Junior Farmer stories that we missed talking about you'd like to share?
No, I think pretty well that's about it. I think I can't think of any others that were really spectacular. Pretty well. I think we got it pretty well.
Okay. If you could say something to a Junior Farmer member today, what would you tell them?
Well, I would tell them that I think that you should go and sign up with a Junior Farmer Club, and look that it's a training that in my time I received, I found very beneficial in later life and various things I took part in.